Hey, y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, week 2 of Saratoga is in the books, so let's take a look at the stats and see who's moving up and down in the divisions and who to look out for. Let's take a look at Saratoga week 2. And we see the top trainers, Linda Rice still continuing her winning ways, just dominating, particularly in the claiming ranks. Chad Brown, he's firing on all cylinders, and we weren't expecting otherwise. Same with Todd Pletcher. Bill Mott is cooled off a little bit. His horses seem to be more likely to be finishing under lately, but of course that can change at the drop of a hat. And Brad Cox has arrived, and he is definitely making an imprint on the standings. The top jockeys, Rod Ortiz, not much of a surprise there. And particularly with Jose having a fall and Arad picked up a couple of mounts, he's got a stranglehold on the jockey division with a 12-win lead. Luis Saez is any problems he was having at Belmont, he has definitely righted the ship, and he is one to be reckoned with for sure. Flavian Pratt, particularly on turf, he has been outstanding and will probably be for the rest of the meet. Jose Ortiz, as the A rider for Linda Rice, he's always going to be in contention. So he's one to watch as well. And Javier Castellano continues his renaissance. He's riding extremely well, and he's not getting quite the A mounts that the others do, not riding quite as much, but he is making an impact. So we look at the top owners, Klarovich Stables, no surprise, Chad Brown's a client, so when he's rolling, they are too. Mike Rapoli. In the Rapoli Stables, that's not much of a surprise. He's a New Yorker. He loves to win at Saratoga. Had a huge win with Nest. Just ultra impressive performance in the Shoe V. Three Diamonds Farm, a new one, but they've got 3 wins. And Winning Move Stable, they're always can be counted on. Linda Rice is their trainer, so be watching for them as well. And Reeves Thoroughbred Racing's an old Saratoga unit. Who has got four in the money finishes and a couple of wins, so they're not to be denied as well. If we look at the jockey angles in the sprints, Rod Ortiz, again, no surprise. And Jose Lezcano, he picked up a few mounts when Jose went down for Linda Rice, and he's always been her 1A rider, so that's not much of a surprise. Javier Castellano, continuing onward. Kendrick Carmouche, has really made an impact at this Saratoga meet. He's a good, aggressive rider, likes to be up on the lead, so sprints, it's not surprising he's doing well. And Luis Saez continues onward as well. In Roots and Rod Ortiz, what can you say? He's got all those Chad Brown and Todd Pletcher root horses to run, so he's going to be right there. Jose Ortiz, as long as Linda Rice keeps him on board, he'll be right up there, and he's an outstanding rider too. Flavian Pratt, Joel Rosario is actually surging forward, and he seems to have got his act together, so he's riding pretty well right now. Always, particularly when they're coming from off the pace, that's when you want Joel Rosario. And Tyler Gaffleone, he's dynamite with Brendan Walsh, and Brendan Walsh's barn continues to be hot, has been since Keeneland, so be on the lookout when those two hook up. On the turf course, not much of a surprise. You got the same players: Rod Ortiz, Flavian Pratt, Joel Rosario, Jose Lezcano, and Tyler Gaffleone. So it's the usual suspects there. When we look at the hot barns, Linda Rice, of course, just continues dominating, and there just doesn't seem much sign of slowing down. She claimed a bunch of horses down in Kentucky and brought them up here, and it's really made the difference. So with all that new stock, she's loaded for bear for the entire meet. Wesley Ward has made an imprint as well. His horses are really firing. Of course, 2-year-olds, turf sprints. That's where he's going to make his mark, so you always want to watch out for him there. Brad Cox has been very well-rounded. He's a threat, any surface, any distance, so be on the lookout for him. Carlos David, in particular with the maidens, the 2-year-olds, he has done a really outstanding job, and his barn is really firing on all cylinders, so he's an underrated one to watch out for. And Patrick Reynolds, he's been a trainer in the New York circuit for years. We had a really lousy Belmont meet, but he has certainly regrouped. He might have been tuning up for Saratoga, so those are a couple of new shooters on the scenes for as far as prominent Saratoga trainers and hot barns. So those are 2, 4, and 5 to be on the lookout for. Trainer angles in sprints, Wesley Ward, that's no surprise. Chad Brown is a little bit of one, but he's 2-year-olds of firing, so that's going to add to his stats in sprints. Linda Rice has always been solid in sprints, and particularly in the claiming ranks. Christophe Clement, you usually see him over on turf, but with his 2-year-olds doing pretty well, he's going to be right up there in sprints. And then there's another guy, Rudy Rodriguez. He was a little quiet at the beginning of the Belmont meet, but he really started heating up towards the end, and his barn is going pretty well right now, so don't underestimate him when you're looking at races. In Roots, Linda Rice, again, particularly in the claiming ranks, really hard to knock. Todd Pletcher in the stakes races, and the allowance level is where you're going to find him, but yeah, he's on all cylinders, of course. Chad Brown on the turf in particular. Let's see if he can run a turf race without 3 or 4 entrants. That'd be nice. But his barn's firing on all cylinders. Bill Mott, of course. Like I said, I think more under is where you want to be putting his horses as of late. But again, that could change at the drop of a hat. Brad Cox, really firing on all cylinders. Got the win with wet paint in the Coaching Club American Oaks over the weekend. And then I put as an asterisk Patrick Reynolds because he's got 2 wins and out of 3. And so his barn is going really well, and he's won them in Roots, so that's where you want to find him. On the turf course, no surprise, Chad Brown with a big lead over Christophe Clement. Billy Morey is one that you may not have heard of, but he's been a trainer in the New York circuit for a long time, and his barn's really heating up. And so he's 2 for 5 at 40%, definitely one you want to keep an eye on the turf. Mark Cassey as well. He had a good start in week 1, and he's building on it, so that's a barn in particular on the turf. He's in Roots. He's doing really well. And as I said, Brendan Walsh, his barn continues to be hot, and it'll stay hot for a while. So particularly when he's got Tyler Gaffleone aboard, that's when you want to pay attention. So those are the stats for week 2, and not a lot of surprises there at the top. Linda Rice continues her dominance, as well as Chad Brown and Todd Pletcher. So that's not a big surprise. Rod Ortiz just killing it in the Jockey Colony. But those little barns, the smaller ones, are ones you want to really pay attention to. And Carlos David, in particular, with 2-year-olds, Patrick Reynolds in Roots, Phil Antonacci still having a nice meet on the turf, as well as Mark Hennig. And Mark Cassey is doing pretty well, so he's a little bit under the radar sometimes. So those are ones to pay attention to as well. If you do like content like this, there are selections and analysis available to you over at rightatthewire.com, so go on over there and take a look. I think you'll like what you find. And, of course, if you do like the content that you get here, please like and subscribe, and we do thank you for coming by. We will continue with our daily stakes posting at Saratoga, as well as the big stakes weekend coverage. We'll have additional postings for that as well, so you'll have plenty of content, and you'll be hearing from me a lot for sure. So I'll be talking to you in the very near future, and until then, be well.